Hi, I'm Lisa Hayden with Community Focus on Washington County, Channel 6 Central Kentucky TV. And our guest today is Sherry Bobbitt with the Springfield Housing Authority. Welcome, Sherry.
Well, thank you.
I know it's been a chore getting here.
Yes.
So, and I know Crystal can't be here today. And Sherry, you are the housing director, and Crystal Golf is the
Section 8 administrator.
Section 8 administrator. So, but maybe we can touch on Section 8 a little as well today. But you know, with the some of the changes with the housing authority, you know, I thought it important that you be here. And one thing, of course, is the new online application for public housing. And I think that's just fabulous. Because, you know, it's hard, you know, especially say you're in another county and you've just moved here, or you're in the process of moving and you need, you know, you can just do it online.
You can do it online, and that's the reason why we went online, because so many people aren't able to get here. So many people don't have vehicles to get here.
Yeah.
So we put online application. That way anybody can apply, and it is not just public housing, it's Section 8 too.
So, they can apply for both.
They can apply for both.
Okay. So now, Sherry, in Springfield, we have how many housing units?
We have 96 housing units and 69 Section 8 vouchers.
Okay. So, you know, we are limited in how many people can get in housing. And I'm sure, do we have any vacancies at all right now?
We don't have any at all right now.
Okay.
We're completely full, and our vouchers are completely gone.
Okay.
So they're all full.
So then, and I know there must be a waiting list. I'm pretty sure, because I've recently seen a waiting list.
There is a waiting list.
For both public housing and Section 8.
Right.
And can you explain what the difference in those
Well, Section 8 is anywhere in the county, and you can, private landlords is what Section 8 is. Public housing is just in housing, which is, our location is Hilltop, Melvin Circle.
Okay.
Is where
in
the
Springfield,
Right, in Springfield.
And so, and those units on Hilltop and Melvin Circle are anywhere from a 1-bedroom to a 5-bedroom. So, and I think maybe they're kind of divided up. Maybe the 5-bedroom or at the top of at Hilltop.
We have 2 5-bedrooms on Melvin Circle, and we have 3 5-bedrooms on Hilltop.
Okay. Okay. So, and that's for a pretty large family.
It is.
Anywhere from what?
You can put 10 people in a 5-bedroom.
Okay.
They're allowed 2 people per bedroom.
I see. Okay. So, now tell me, so if someone wanted to apply, of course they have to meet for Washington County certain eligibility requirements.
Right, and it's all income based. It don't matter if it's Section 8 or if it's public housing. It is all income based.
Okay. So what does that mean exactly? So but you can make, I mean, can you make any income, or you have to be below a certain?
You have to be below a certain, and the government fixes it for Washington County. They set the limit.
The federal government sets the Housing and Urban Development Agency, HUD, as everybody calls it.
They set the limit. You pull it once a year, which is in October, and it could go up, it could go down. Mm-hmm. And it's always set on a certain amount of income per household.
Mm-hmm. Per household and per the number in the household?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, okay, so you have to be eligible financially, and then but I know some people that have pretty daggone good jobs, and they pay pretty high rent.
They do.
Because the rent is based on your income.
Exactly.
The household income.
Right. And we do have flat rent because some people come in, well, they'll come in and they don't have a job when they get here.
Mm-hmm.
They go out in the community and find a job. Your rent's still based on your income.
Okay. And so, so like, for example, you get a raise at work, that has to be reported to to you.
Yes.
Because your rent goes up according to your income.
Right.
Or
Or
it can go down.
Right.
If you lose your job or you laid off and your rent goes down to 0, then your rent, needless to say, would go down.
Right.
And the flat fee is at what?
$50.
$50.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, you get a good job, your rent could actually go up to $600 or $700. I've
Yes.
seen it even more higher than that
We do
for
have
households.
1 or 2.
Yeah,
We have 1 or 2.
because everybody's income in the household is counted.
Right.
And so, is that for earned income and unearned income?
It's gross.
It's
income.
gross income.
Income.
So that counts, say, if you're on Social Security or if you're on unemployment insurance
Right.
benefits. So it's just your gross income. So now, okay, so, and I know there are certain other eligibility requirements as well to qualify. And there's a ranking system.
It's a point system.
A point
It's
system.
a point system of how you go on the waiting list.
Of how you go on the waiting list.
Right.
So, okay, first of all, to be eligible, you have to meet income guidelines. And are there other guidelines? Do you have to be a resident of this county or?
No.
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 Is there other guidelines in addition to the income?
It's not. It's all income based.
Okay.
But according to the waiting list, we have 5 preferences.
Okay, so once you qualify, if there's no housing, you go on the waiting list, and that is based on certain where you place on the waiting list.
Right. Right.
And what are those
Our preferences is
preferences?
elderly, disabled, military, working, and local. They'll be placed on the waiting list first,
Okay.
according to the points they have.
Okay. So they could have anywhere from 1 point to 5 points.
Right.
I mean, they could just be a resident. I mean, they could be a local
Right.
as
They
a
could be elderly and disability.
or elderly, yeah, or disabled, or they could be all of the above.
Right. But you
A
can't
veteran who's disabled and elderly
exactly.
and a local would, needless to say, be at the top of the list.
Right. Right.
Because of
system.
the point system.
Right.
So that's good to know, because I know sometimes people wonder, why did so and so get in before
Right.
I did? But it's because of where you stand on the point system.
Right.
And I suppose, so if there's no preferences, it also depends on when you applied.
Right.
I mean, so like if you applied a year ago, then, but even though someone else might have applied a month ago, if they meet all those points, then they're going to get in before
Right.
you.
Right.
So I know that's difficult for people to understand, but those are the preferences. So that's
Right.
just the way the requirements are. And then, of course, once they get in, I mean, it has to be the right bedroom size.
Right. Right.
So,
It has
for
to be
example, I mean, you're not going to put someone into one person, an elderly, disabled person, in a two-bedroom
or a 3-bedroom.
or a 3-bedroom.
Right.
So if there's not a 1-bedroom that's available, then they're going to stay on that waiting list until there's a 1-bedroom available.
Right. Because you have to put them in the household size that they qualify for.
Yeah. Yeah. So those all get, are all those things are
confusing.
factored in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is confusing.
Yeah. And is that the same way with Section 8?
No, Section 8 is totally different.
Okay.
They'll be placed on the waiting list the same.
Okay.
But Section 8, you can transfer anywhere in the United States. You
Okay.
can go from county to county, state to state. as long as the accepting housing authority accepts you.
I see.
Because their guidelines could be totally different than ours.
Uh-huh.
But
In another county,
right,
you mean, or another state.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right.
Okay.
And they have to stay on the program for 12 months once they accept a voucher, and then they can port out to anywhere they want to go.
So, okay, so if someone qualified for Section 8, which means they would rent from a private landlord, but these would be landlords that you've already approved.
Well, no.
Not necessarily.
Any landlord can be approved as long as they'll accept the Section 8 voucher.
I see.
And the home's got to meet Section 8 guidelines.
Yeah, so the house has to, or the apartment has to meet certain standards.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, be clean and no fire hazards and
no windows broken.
no windows broken. And
no floors falling.
No floors falling in. Has to be a decent house.
Right, right. It has to be a decent house. We don't want our tenants in a house that's going to fall down.
Right. And it has to be a rent that is
within the standards of Washington County's fair market rent.
Right. And so do you have a lot of employers that a lot of landlords that take advantage of that program, or do
we're trying to get more on? We have quite a few, but we'd like to see more come on.
And of course they have to charge the fair market rent value rent for this county.
Right.
And
it has to be the rent that the fair market is set at.
Is that pretty good?
It is for Washington County. It's really good. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I think fair market for Washington County on a 2-bedroom is $550.
Okay. So that's pretty good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty good for Washington County.
So now, then what happens in that regard on Section 8 is that you pay the landlord a certain part of the rent based on the tenant's income?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's based on their income.
Okay.
Of what portion we pay the landlord.
I see. And so the tenant might pay $100 based on their income, and then you all pay the landlord, the housing authority pays the landlord, Section 8 does, $400.
Right.
If the
case.
rent was $500.
Right.
Now, does that count utilities? Or
it does count utilities.
Okay.
Their utilities are factored in there.
So the utilities have to be included.
Right.
So say
well, they don't have to be included in the rent.
Okay.
But they have to be included in the whole picture.
Okay. So you all would pay so much of the rent as well, in addition to the...
we would pay so much of the rent, and there's a possibility that some of their utilities could be paid. We do have several tenants right now that the utilities are paid.
I see. I see. So, and then, of course, in public housing, I think the utilities are included. Is that right?
They are included.
Up to a certain amount?
Point. Right, up to a certain amount, and then there's overages if they go over.
Okay. And is that all the utilities, the electric, water, and is there gas in
Gas and garbage is included.
Gas and garbage. So that's everything.
Right.
And that's all included in their rent. Okay. So that's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you might think some of it's really high, but if you count all the utilities included, it's really not bad for Washington County.
Yeah, yeah. But now if they go over a certain amount, then they have to pay the difference.
Right. Right. They have to pay their overages if they go over what's set for their apartment size, because each apartment's different.
Yeah. Okay.
They're set.
Now, are people required to get a job if they are employable? I mean, how does that work exactly?
They're not. They're not required. We cannot make them work. We have to go based on their household.
Okay.
If they do not work, they have to do community service, which is 8 hours per month.
That's in the lease agreement that they sign.
Right.
They have to do 8 hours of community service per month. And if they don't fulfill that obligation, they eventually can be evicted.
Correct.
But now, did you say that a working person gets priority to get into housing?
Well, that's where
Is that one of the
preferences? Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That is one of our preferences.
Okay. So if a person's not working, they're not going to have a preference, and they're not necessarily, they're going to be on the waiting list perhaps for a while.
Well, they could.
They
could.
could.
And, you know, if they're local or they're military, disabled, elderly.
Well, now, I'm speaking of someone that's employable, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, so then they do have to do, and if they don't do their community service, say if they're unemployed, then they eventually can be evicted.
They can be evicted for not doing community service.
Yeah. So are there some things, and on the Section 8, you mentioned that from, say, you live here in Section 8 for a year in this county, but you need to, you get a job elsewhere, or you're then you can transfer that Section 8 voucher to another county or even another state?
Yes.
Well, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause
as long as they've been a good tenant.
Right. I mean, other housing authorities are going to call.
And they're going to ask you for a reference.
Yes. They will call. And we do the same. We call other housing authorities to get preferences and references. And
yeah. That's part of the application process, correct? So what does a person have to have when they apply?
They have to have a state birth certificate,
okay,
Social Security card, and proof of any income when they apply for housing.
Okay. And then some references, or where they lived last, or how does that?
Previous landlords.
Previous landlords.
Last 2 landlords that you've had.
Okay. And then of course the application itself they have to fill out with all the members of the household, I suppose,
Yes.
and
With
regular typical kinds of applications
Right.
for renting. What about criminal record? If they're a felon, I don't think they can. If it's a nonviolent.
Well, there's a lot of different issues when it comes to a felon.
Okay.
There is guidelines that we go by as well as federal government goes by.
Okay.
If it's a drug felon, we won't take you for 5 years.
Okay, so you can't have had a drug conviction for 5 years.
Correct.
Before you can get into housing here in Washington County.
Right. And
Okay.
domestic violence
Okay.
is the same way.
5 years on that as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I think those are reasonable.
I'm like you, I think they're reasonable.
Yeah. And are there any other requirements in that regard?
Mm-mm.
No. So, and then what if while they are living in public housing or Section 8, and what can cause them to be evicted? If there's a domestic violence offense or drug conviction?
They can be evicted. They sign a drug-free certificate when they come in.
Mm-hmm.
And it plainly states if you're caught on or off public housing property with any kind of drugs, you'll be evicted with no questions asked.
Okay. Okay. I think that's reasonable,
Well,
too. And
yeah. We want to keep our people safe.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we're lucky in that we have a police force in Springfield that's nearby, and if there are any difficulties, the same way with any resident of this city.
Right.
There's city police protection. So yeah. So then so now if they want to apply online rather than coming to the office, what is the office address?
It's 1057 Melvin Circle, Springfield, Kentucky.
Okay. And the hours of operation are?
From 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday.
Okay. And so someone could stop in the office
And get an application.
and get an application and bring that back with all the information
Right.
that they need. And then, or they can call the office.
They
and
call the office, fax. We have our fax.
Could they call and have you send them an application?
They can.
Is that possible?
It is. That's the reason why we put it online, to kind of slack down on postage.
Okay.
That's one reason why we went online.
So, of course, for an elderly person or someone that might not get online, they could just call in and then you could mail them an application.
Right.
And your phone number at the office is?
859-336-7645.
And then, or they can get online, and where do they go to?
They go to, I wrote it down because I haven't memorized it yet. It's springfield.housingmanager.com.
springfield.housingmanager.com. But also, it's easy to get to if you go to your Facebook page.
Right. We do have a link on the Housing Authority's Facebook page that takes you directly there.
Yeah. So I found that quite Springfield Housing Authority, I think is how it's on.
It's Housing Authority
Housing
of
Authority of
Springfield.
Springfield. I think there were two different ones on there. Springfield, I don't know if that was a Springfield somewhere else.
It was. It's not us.
Okay.
Ours is Housing Authority of Springfield.
Okay, so Housing Authority of Springfield. And then when you click on that on Facebook,
It'll
you
take
see your picture and Crystal's and the people that work at the Housing Authority, the maintenance people.
Right.
And then there's a link on there to apply online.
Right. And if you click on it, it'll take you directly to the application.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good. And so once they fill that out, do they just send it, it goes directly, or how does that work?
As soon as they fill it out, I get a pop-up on my computer that says, hey, you got a new application.
Okay.
So I know as soon as it's filled out. And it has to be completely filled out before it'll come to me.
Okay. And
If they leave something blank, it won't be a complete application.
I see. And they, of course, will know that. It'll
Yes.
tell them.
Yes, it tells them that your application's not complete.
So you automatically put that on file according to the priority list
Right.
with your office. And then, now, what about the Social Security cards and that they need? Do they just scan those
They
and
can
send
send them
those?
and email them to us. They can scan them and attach them to the application that's online. Or they can drop them by the office and we'll make copies.
I see.
Whatever works for them.
Okay, okay. So they could just go right there, scan it, and email it to you. And of course, some people may not have access to that. It might
Right.
be easier for them to just make a copy and mail it. I'm not really sure, but those things does the application go on file even though you might not have those
No.
that
we will not-
information yet
We will not accept an application until it is complete.
until you have the Social Security cards and what else?
It's Social Security cards, state birth certificates, identity, whether it be a driver's license or just an identity card,
Okay.
and proof of income. That's what we require.
Okay. So, on the identity, okay, all of those things can be scanned, I assume, but the proof of income, that can get complicated. If you're self-employed, I guess you'd have to get your employer to fill something out,
We
and
got a
that would
verification
suffice.
also, verification of employment.
Oh, you have a form?
Yes.
Oh, that they can take to their employer? Oh, so is that online with the
It
application?
should be online too.
Okay. So that comes in handy.
We
The
try to make it
verification.
as easy as we could.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the you're saying the that your birth certification. What does that mean? Is that a certified copy
It's
of
a
your
state birth certificate. We cannot accept hospital birth certificates unless it's a newborn child. We can if it's a newborn child.
I see, and because they don't
Right.
have their birth certificate
Right.
yet.
They hadn't had time to get it yet.
So it has to be, does it have to be certified, or can it be I guess now it can just be a copy
Right, a
of a
hospital copy.
certified? No, I mean with regard to a certified birth certificate, with the seal
Right,
thing on it, with
right.
can you just send a copy of that?
You can. Well, no, it'll say on it all the way around the sides. It's got certified birth certificate.
Okay. So it doesn't have to be an actual certified one.
Right.
Okay, it can be a copy of that.
Yes. It can
Okay.
be a copy.
Okay, so that's good to know. Okay, so, and then they can also, this counts also for Section 8.
Right.
Online as
Yes.
well.
They got an option that says you can apply for public housing, or you can apply for Section 8, or you can apply for both.
Okay. Now, this is a question I know I get sometimes. If you don't want to apply for regular public housing, you can just apply for the Section 8.
Yes. Yes.
And then if you also, as you said, if you can apply for both. Now, if you get, say you're offered an apartment on the regular public housing and you turn it down, are you still on the list for Section 8?
Yes, you'll stay on either list. You'll just drop.
Okay. You're dropped back down if
Right.
you don't go off of the list.
No,
You go to the bottom.
right. You'll go to the bottom.
Would you go to the bottom of Section 8 if you turn down or you probably shouldn't apply for the public if you're not going to accept it?
Right. Right.
Okay.
But some people apply for both
Mm-hmm.
because they need a place to live. So
Right.
whichever one comes available first, they'll take.
Yeah.
So if you
Understandably,
need to apply,
yeah.
if you need to apply for both,
Mhm.
apply for both.
Yeah. And and then of course, how long would you say you could be on the waiting list for how long?
6 months to a year.
Is that the average?
That's the
6
average.
months to a year?
Yes. That's the
Okay.
average.
So, wow. That's a while, isn't it?
It is.
And Sherry, I know that the amount that the federal government is putting in to Section 8 and to regular public housing as far as upkeep and things of that nature is getting less and less each year. Am I
It is.
correct on that?
You are correct. We
Yeah.
get less and less
Since I
money
serve
every-
on the Housing Authority Board, I've been hearing that you've
I've
advised us of that, and that's scary.
It is. I've been there 8 years, and it's been cut every year I've been there.
Yeah. So we're not getting the funds that we need to help people
Right.
in public housing or in Section 8.
Right.
And I'd say there's a high demand. How long would you say that you're waiting? I mean, how many people do you have on a waiting list?
I would say we probably got close to 60 right now. Total.
60 on the total
Right.
for both. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'd say some people just give up too, don't they, sometimes?
They do. And, we try to encourage them to go to other housing authorities and apply because their waiting list may be
A little
Little
less,
bit.
perhaps. Yeah. So, and I know we'd like to do more upgrades to the units that we have in regular public housing. You know,
Right.
there's always, something that needs to be done. And just like any landlord, you're limited sometimes on the amount of money you can put into these things.
Right. And we tried to prioritize
Mm-hmm.
what's most important that we need to do.
Mm-hmm. So I know you've done some things this year.
We have. We're getting ready to start a new one, which is putting new water heaters in. It's because the ones we got are right at 20 years old. So
Yeah.
it's time for them to be replaced.
Yeah. They've had a good lifespan, haven't they? 20 years. Yeah. Knock on wood. That's good. Yeah.
That's the reason why we're replacing them.
And this past year, you put in what?
This past year, I think we put 20 new hot water heaters in the units.
Okay.
We put new roofs on,
New roofs. Yeah.
renovated the office.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is
that's
that
all we
pretty-
done this year.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, those new roofs are important.
They are. They are.
So,
I would like to have the money to replace them all, but you got to do with what you get to do with.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's just hope that the funds don't continue to decrease because people need a place to live.
You're right, they do.
Yeah.
They do.
So, well, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us today?
That's it.
Well, I know we're excited about this online application.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So, and let's see and so once again, too, if anybody has any questions, I know they can call you at Sherry Boblet or Crystal
Golf.
Golf. There I go again, Crystal Golf, at 859-336
7645.
7645. Well, thank you, Sherry, for being here today. I know we've had a hard time getting together, but it's good
Thanks for having me.
information. Yeah, thank you. And I know the public would like to know about this. So, thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Bye.